All right, 9 picks up. Shockingly, 9 picks down. Mickey Loomis did not trade up. Shocking no one, Mickey Loomis did not trade down. Saints actually made all of their draft picks. To a certain degree, that's a great thing because the talent is a major issue on the roster. They're talent depleted across the board. Um, you know, in 2018, 2019, even 2020, widely considered one of the deeper rosters in the league, but the reality is, since that legendary 2017 draft, they've drafted very poorly, and they haven't been crushing it in free agency. But even if you had, when you draft poorly, the roster talent deteriorates, and so that's kind of how you end up where they have been. They've been spiraling as a team, and spiraling as a roster, and then you add bad coaching on top of that, and then on top of that, you add the talent that you do draft ends up going somewhere else and winning another team Super Bowl. Thanks, Mickey. But that's what I'm over here for. Let's. Um, I really want to just kind of take a quick, knee jerk reaction, but like an honest kind of objective look at the 9 draft picks we have. Like all of these guys are in a vacuum. No one has stepped on the football field yet. This is all entirely speculative. We have no idea what they look like within the same scheme, within the context of the players they're going to be playing around, making the leap from college to NFL. Like it's entirely subjective and conjecture. Like all of this is everything leading up to the draft is. It always is. It's fun to do, but like none of us know what we're talking about, and that includes the professionals. It damn sure includes Mickey Loomis, who has an extraordinary track record of not knowing what the fuck he's doing. But I do just want to take a quick look at the 9 guys we drafted and give the immediate thoughts on just the picks themselves and the players, ignoring the context around them, the overall roster, all of the other things. This is not a grading exercise. This is just the player themselves and what I think they maybe could be, and how that kind of possibly could fit into this team and the value they could potentially bring, and nothing else. We'll do all that other stuff. It's a long off season with lots of things to talk about. So we're gonna do all the other stuff, but this is really just gonna be about those guys. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the guys we have. So jacked straight from the New Orleans Saints website. Let's go ahead and take the guys in order. So round one, pick 9, Kevin Banks Jr. Extremely highly graded offensive tackle. I've seen some reports and rumors. Looks like that some people thought the Raiders were going to take him. Like pretty much everybody had him as a top 10 to 15 pick. He's a good athlete. 3-year starter in college. Some see him as more of a guard than a tackle, but you also like see that said about a lot of guys almost every year. I even saw that said about like Will Campbell, and Will Campbell went number 4 overall. Like it happens again. We'll see how it plays out in camp. We'll see how it plays out in the pros. But like just purely looking at the pick and the player itself, um, the idea here is you got Fuaga last year, you got Banks this year. Whether they end up at their natural positions or they both end up swapped, regardless, the hope here is that you have a decade run of bookend elite tackles, and through that you're able to build as as close as you can hope to be to a dominant offensive line, and allows you to really build almost any type of offense that you want, and from there build it to whatever type of quarterback or coach that you need or want to have from there. So that's kind of the vision and the idea behind that pick. We'll talk about projections and opportunity cost and all the other things further down the line, but just purely looking at the player, the talent matches the slot. The vision makes sense. He's certainly worth the spot. Um, I think he allowed like 1 sack all year, and he did have an ankle injury, and he still I don't even think he missed a game, and still had a pretty solid year. And those are all really good signs, and seems to be a really high character kid who plays really hard and has really good technique. So all of those are really positive things to see. Then you go to round two, pick 40, Tyler Shuck. So again, we're not getting into grades or context here. So let's just look at kind of the in the vacuum version here. So at pick 40, you draft a 40-year-old. No, I'm cracking jokes. He's a seventh year senior, I think. Um, if you're looking at look at Tyler Shuck, the football player, and not Tyler Shuck, the situation. So Tyler Shuck, the football player, you almost look at him as you're drafting from like a football perspective. You're drafting almost a redshirt freshman, like, which is insane to say for a guy who's going to be 26 when he takes his first snaps and like played 7 years of college football. But he had so many injuries that like this last year at Louisville was really his first like full year of football. And of course, it was his best year because it was his first full year, and like it was a good year. He didn't light the world on fire. There's a lot of parallel between 2024 Derek Carr and Tyler Shuck on the field. Now, off the field, he seems to be really hardworking kid. All the stuff I've seen and read about him so far has him as like a really high character guy. Teammates speak well of him, like really well of him, like legitimately, not like the fake stuff that like happens with, oh yeah, Derek, no, we love Derek. But if something were to happen, like we'd only like, you know, we'd say nice things if you asked us about. Like it's not that. He legitimately seems to be liked by people. He seems to be a high character guy. So not Derek Carr off the field, but he's got a lot of 2024 Derek Carr. So like some really high highs, like can make some really incredible throws. Those are great deep ball, good arm talent. Has some solid mobility. Can make some second reaction throws. You get him under pressure, and his brain, it turns into a pinball machine, and tilt happens a lot more often than any kind of bonus round or multi-ball or any positive things you might be looking for. Which makes that offensive line pick very, very important. Um, but the talent is there, and you can kind of see the vision and the idea behind him. Um, and we'll talk more about like context, vision, grade, all that stuff later. But like just purely from like the player in a vacuum, is he a guy that warrants being picked at pick 40? To me, no. Um, the way I view quarterback, if you're going to pick a guy high who is a high variance player, their highs have to be extraordinary. So like Jalen Milrow is a high variance player. His highs, like when he dominated Georgia, very, very high, incredibly high. Runs a 4.3, like extraordinary athlete, incredible character, clean bill of health. If he hits, he's top 3 or 4 quarterback in the league high. And if he busts, okay, well, you pick another quarterback in next 2 or 3 years. Like you just try again. Like you keep trying until you hit. Like that's what you have to do with quarterback. That's the reality. And the rookie wage scale allows you to do that. So like you just keep trying. That's what you do with a high variance quarterback. If you have a quarterback who is an operator, what I mean by an operator is like you want guys who are consistent and reliable. I'm not talking about style of play. There's a bunch of different styles of play. You can be a read option quarterback and be reliable. You can be a pistol quarterback and be reliable. You can be a shotgun quarterback and be reliable. You can be more of a runner and be reliable. Like Jaden Daniels is a reliable quarterback. And he was kind of a mix and match type. Like he had a little bit of everything. But he's a very reliable, predictable, consistent player. It's not about style, it's about predictability. My issue with Tyler Shuck is that he is a high variance player. He doesn't stack positives consistently. The one thing he does consistently is when he's under pressure. he tends to implode. That's why I was really, really low on Ewers, and I was really, really low on Shuck coming into this draft. Again, we'll get into grades and deeper analysis further on. I do feel like if you were going to take this guy, my preference would have been to draft, a tight end or a wide receiver at 40, bring in a safety blanket, which this offense does not have whatsoever. We do not have that archetype within this roster at all. And then draft the high variance player so you have someone to help him limit the variance and give him more opportunities to then do the good things by extending drives via the safety blanket. But we didn't do that. So, third pick, pick 71, Vernon Broughton, um, defensive tackle out of Texas. Big boy. Biggin. Mammoth. Um, good athlete, nose ish. Like he can play multiple techniques, but like he's a nose type guy. Fits what you're gonna want to do with Brandon Staley. I like the pick actually. I think he's athletic enough to do what you want. Part of that super talented Texas team that made the playoff this year. He's a guy. He's going to develop more, but he brings you enough now to be comfortable with the pick at that slot. I don't feel like he's overdrafted. I think he's a guy with you have a high enough motor at the size with the athleticism. He's going to bring you something. He's a low enough pick where even what he brings you and what he is now, you're probably going to get decent value. But with the best version of what he could be a really, really impactful player for your defense. Like the best version of him is a very effective player against the run who actually brings you a reasonable amount of play against the pass. Like he is actually a guy who can get upfield and affect the passing game while having that size to truly be a two gap guy and like plug as a nose tackle and do those things. So I actually really like that pick. It's not a sexy pick, but I like the pick. The idea behind the pick makes a lot of sense, and considering how horrifically bad the Saints' run defense has been, it makes a lot of sense. Next pick, Jonas Sanker, round three, pick 93 is it's more of the same. So like up through this point, really, it's like Shuck is kind of the splash play, but like it's like not much of a splash. Like you know, you can throw a boulder in the pool, you kind of like throw a pebble, but like it's a lot of meat and potatoes with not a lot of meat. Tofurkey maybe. Um, to me, Sanker might be the one like splash guy in this whole draft. Um, him or maybe Stunsman. We'll get to in a second. So like, and by the way, guys, just for the record, like the Saints actually don't like purely draft by RAS. Like I know that's like kind of a thing on Twitter, but they actually don't. Like yes, guys they draft tend to have high RAS scores, but like there's actually more of it than that. But I don't want to get into that. He's very athletic. He's kind of a box safety, but he can cover. Like from what I've seen and what I've watched, and like we'll dig in more, but I actually like him a lot. He plays really hard. He's a smart, instinctive player. Um, the number one thing this defense lacks, really, I mean the entire roster in general lacks it right now. It's part of why they're a bad team. Like, yeah, we're a bad team. Won 5 games, and we really should have probably won three. Um, he's an impact player, like quite literally. He really likes to hit people. Like he really likes to hit people. Um, he is an impact player. Like he makes plays, he deflects passes. Like he's not like an incredible ball hawk, but like he's a guy who I could see him having a very similar impact to the defense to what Chauncey Gardner has. Not in the exact same role, but I think a lot of people forgot that a huge part of what Chauncey Gardner brought to the defense was in that first 15 yards area. He brought speed, but he also brought intensity. He brought that juice. He elevated the energy level of the defense. He was hitting people, and even when he missed tackles, he was making guys had to stop, change direction, divert, etc. And then the defense could swarm. Like he would miss a tackle, but then three people would get there to make it. Like he was creating plays. He was creating havoc. He was raising energy levels. It wasn't just he was pissing off opponents and like getting them to hit him. Like yes, he did that, but like he was a havoc player. Played his ass off, played a million miles an hour, but had the athleticism and the speed to create that havoc in that first 15 yards. No one on this defense brings any of those elements right now. Certainly not Sugar Possum, who's out there just a jogging. I actually really like this pick. Of the guys we drafted, he is right now my favorite player. Obviously, Kelvin Banks, like if he hits, is going to be the most impactful player from this draft to me. But I really actually like Jonas Sager. I think he's going to be a very impactful player. Next guy is Danny Stutzman. Um, I'll be honest, Oklahoma had a really bad defense. He's a white linebacker. Like there's going to be jokes around that. If you look at him, he's pretty athletic. He's a pretty athletic linebacker. He's a bit of a straight line guy. He loves to play downhill. Like you want to get better against the run, Vernon and Stutzman, Vernon Broughton and Danny Stutzman are going to help you get better against the run. I want to see if he, at the professional level, in this defense, can become passable against the pass and in space. He's a smart player. He's got good instincts. He's a really good athlete. There is a dream scenario. We'll go down this rabbit hole a little bit further down the line. There's a dream scenario where him and Ford are by the end of this year the starting linebackers, and the Saints are no longer a slow slash AARP defense, and that version of the team is actually pretty intriguing. Like the theoretical, everything works out the way you hope it would version of this draft is a very impactful draft. There's not an impact guy on this team other than me, or in this draft, other than maybe, like I said, Sanker, maybe Stutzman. Like those are the two guys where you have that mix of play style and athleticism where like sneaky could be impact guys. Like probably not superstars, but it's like then you go look at them and it's like they're really good athletes. They play really hard. They're pretty smart. They're pretty instinctual. You get those kind of guys in the right defense. You see this every year in the NFL. You get guys like that in the right defense, in the right circumstance, and every year there's one or two of those guys where they go, "How'd that guy make it to the third or fourth round?" Maybe it's our year. We'll see. But those two are interesting. Quincy Riley, pick 131. Um, Quincy Riley was one of the guys. So look, Shuck was like the industry plant quarterback that like no one had heard about all year, and then like a few weeks ahead of the draft, all of a sudden all the media guys started talking about, which really meant like all the agents and the scouts were like telling them like, hey, like the teams actually like this guy, like they watch his tape and think he's got attributes, and then like the Saints drafted him, like that happened, but then like Vernon, Jonas, and Danny were all guys where like consensus would tell you the Saints overdraft, and I've said this a dozen times going up into the draft, so I'm certainly not going to be a hypocrite. I don't believe in overdrafts. If they drafted them and they end up being good players, then you drafted good players. If they drafted them and they don't end up being good players, then you have to own the opportunity cost of all the guys that you decided not to draft by drafting them. And when you have a roster with all the holes they have, you elected not to select impact players, guys who record stats, by drafting these guys. Like that's where we are. Quincy Riley was the one guy on this list where like this is a guy where you actually saw a lot of people talking about like this is a sleeper player. This is a guy to keep an eye out for. Kind of a zone cornerback, really good instincts, good body control, fourth round pick. Also, like just straight up, Saints have had a really good track record with drafting corners. I'm reasonably optimistic on him. Also, everything after the third round, these are lottery tickets. So, um, Devin Neal is a 6th round pick. Look, it was a crazy deep running back draft. Devin Neal is probably a late third to 4th round pick. Considering his testing numbers, he's probably a 4th or 5th round pick. Running back in most years. Like, he's not a 6th round pick in most years just because of his production and his tape. But in this draft, like, he's going that low just because, like, there's so many damn running backs taken. And it's just, there's so many damn running backs. Devin Neal is actually a really good back. If Devin Neal was 6% faster than he is, he gets taken way earlier. Great balance, really good vision. He's really good at playing the position of running back. He's just not fast enough to really, really hurt you. Like, that's really the only thing that holds him back. Um, really smooth, again, really good vision, good balance. Like, he's a very good running back, but he's not a dynamic running back. Fortunately, we really could use a dynamic running back, but very patient, great balance. I actually think he'll be a useful, helpful player for the team, but like, he's not a game breaker. He's not a guy that's going to rip off 30, 40, 50 yard runs. Like, you could probably spot him 25 yards and he might still not rip off a 30, 40 yard run. That is what it is. Maliki Matabayo, probably butchered that. I don't care. He's 7th round pick, whatever. Blocking tight end. Fidel Diggs, the tiny bit I've heard about him, look, he's a 7th round draft pick. The little bit I've seen and read and heard about him, he's a little bit intriguing. Look, we have so little at defensive end. Like, he's got a small outside shot of making the roster. He's got some intrigue, but like, bro's a 7th round pick. Like, you were probably over there for a reason, but like, there's maybe a little bit something there. Maybe he's Al Qadim Muhammad again, who, by the way, is still in the league from that legendary 2017 class, still in the league. So maybe he's like that and he carves himself out a spot. But 9 picks. I think from what I see it, I think there's 3 guys I'm comfortable saying are really solid picks in Kelvin Banks, Vernon Broughton, and Jonas Sanker. Now, again, we'll get into later. Were those the best guys to take at that spot? What's the opportunity cost you gave up by taking those guys and not addressing really the offense whatsoever? All of those other things, all those other factors, looking at projections. We'll get into all that stuff. It's a long off season, but just purely on the draft class, I think those 3 players, I'm pretty comfortable going like, these will probably be good football players. How good, time will tell, but I'm reasonably confident saying like, probably not going to be busts. And then, look, I was bleh on Shuck. I don't think he was a good prospect. I don't think he's going to be a good quarterback. Frankly, look, bro, you had McDonald's at home. Like, Shuck is a project quarterback who's got a little bit of upside and a whole lot of and like, you have that in Rattler already. And Rattler's more of an operator type and less of a high variance quarterback. So I don't know why you're doubling down on an operator, or sorry, on a variance quarterback when operators typically give you better bridge quarterbacks. If that's what you wanted, than Shuck, like, just because he can run, okay. He also has a massive injury history. So if you wanted a quarterback that can run, just draft Milrow. Like, we'll get into it later. But yeah, it's an interesting class. We'll see what happens. Obviously, look, regardless of my confidence level, regardless of how much I would desperately want Mickey Loomis to be fired because I'm sick and tired of him ruining my favorite football team, I want every one of these guys to be a star. I want this to be another 2017 class or another 2006 class. Hell, good God, I'd take a 2016 class. Like, this doesn't look great. The reality is we need impact players, and I don't see a lot here. But also the reality is we just need good football players, and we don't have a lot of that on this roster. So even if we just got some of those, like, even if these are just really solid football players who are good, solid contributors for the most part, that's a win because we don't have a lot of those right now. That's why we won 5 games, and like I said, we're 2 fluke plays away from only winning 3. So I'll take it. That's my thoughts. my thoughts here, your thoughts in the comment section, all that YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Always appreciate it. Thank you guys. And we will be back later with more thoughts from me on the Saints.